All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are taking on a genuinely mind bending goal in this explainer. We're going to explore the fundamental, foundational logic of how reality literally pieces itself together. We're looking at a fascinating framework from an incredibly dense, profound source text that covers this concept called Syndiffeonesis. And yeah, I know, that is quite a mouthful. But my goal today is to be your guide, breaking this complex logic down into really clear, structured ideas. So, to start us off, I want you to consider a bit of a paradox. Can two things ever be absolutely different? Think about two totally unrelated objects in our universe. Let's say an apple sitting on your desk and a burning star a billion light years away. They seem entirely different, right? I mean, obviously. But what if the absolute difference between two objects sharing the exact same universe is actually a logical impossibility? This source material we're digging into introduces this concept with a pretty heavy statement. It reads, reality is a relation, and every relation is a Syndiffeonic relation. Now I know, that carries a ton of academic weight. It's dense, it's packed with specialized vocabulary, and honestly, it sounds super intimidating. But stick with me here. I promise you, by the end of this explainer, we are going to break that exact sentence down into plain, fascinating English. Section 1. Are things truly different? The fundamental impossibility. Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to challenge your everyday perceptions for a minute. The text argues that any assertion that two things are different actually implies that they are reductively the same. Now really think about that. If a difference between two things is real, well, they both have to reduce down to a common reality. If they're both existing in the exact same universe, at the exact same time, they must share something. At the very least, they are partially similar simply by both possessing the basic property of existence. Section 2. Understanding Syndiffeonesis, the concept of difference in sameness. I assure you, this intimidating jargon actually describes a surprisingly elegant, even beautiful idea about how our universe operates. Syndiffeonesis is, simply put, the principle of difference in sameness, where any difference relation entails a common medium and syntax. Think of this as the ultimate ground rule of reality. Literally, any spatial or temporal characteristic in the universe relies on this. To be different, things absolutely must share a common medium, like a background space, and a common syntax, meaning a shared set of rules that governs both of them. To make this a little easier to wrap our heads around, the author splits every relationship into two distinct phases. We've got the synetic phase versus the diffeonic phase. The synetic phase acts as the homogeneous, distributed medium of sameness. It's essentially the blank canvas. The diffeonic phase, on the other hand, well, that represents the actual difference relation. It's the paint on the canvas. It's the specific objects and parameters that stand apart from each other. Section 3. The medium and the syntax. Uncovering the rules of reality. You see, differing objects don't just float around in a void of nothingness. They absolutely require a shared space and shared rules to even be compared in the first place. And this brings us to a process called unisection. Unisection is the operation producing the shared medium from the related entities. It actually combines aspects of both union and intersection. I like to think of unisection as the grammatical glue of the universe. It's this active process that takes two totally different things and mathematically generates the common stage that they both act upon. Section 4. Visualizing the logic. Translating diagram 6. Now we are going to take a specific, highly dense logical proof from the text, which is known as diagram 6, and we're going to translate it step by step using our new vocabulary. Let's walk up the ladder here. Step 1. We state that x differs from y. But simply by expressing that linguistically or geometrically, step 2 automatically kicks in. X and y are instantly forced into sharing a common relational medium. And because they share that medium, boom, we hit step 3. The difference is only partial. Any claim of absolute irreducible difference is completely invalidated. So, what does this all mean? The absolutely crucial point is this. Reality ultimately consists of a unitary ontological medium. Let's just pause and let that profound conclusion really breathe for a second. Because all differences require this common medium to be expressed, the entire universe is fundamentally what the author calls an infocognitive monism. Meaning, underneath all the endless variety of people, planets, and atoms, the universe is really just one single unified thing. Section 5. Ending the infinite regress, the search for stability.
Now, what's really interesting here is that this whole logical ladder we just climbed creates a massive problem, right? If every difference requires a medium, wouldn't those mediums need their own mediums, going on forever? It's a literal threat to reality itself. If we have syntactic inhomogeneity, meaning the rules are totally different in different places, it creates new differences. Each of those differences requires a new common medium. Without a termination point, the whole system lacks a stable syntax. And as the source notes, systems without informational coherence simply decohere. In other words, an infinite loop of new rules would cause reality to literally fall apart. The regress absolutely has to stop somewhere.
Thankfully for us, we have empirical proof that it actually does stop. The text states, the informational stability of perceptual reality shows that reality has a stable syntax. Let's connect this back directly to your own life right now. Just look around the room. You see a stable, coherent world. Your computer screen isn't spontaneously dissolving into a completely different set of physical laws. Because you can actively perceive this stability, reality simply must possess an ultimate set of distributed, universal laws.
So, how exactly do we reach the top of this system? Well, these relations form complex structures called infocognitive lattices. Think of it like climbing a logical ladder by constantly combining differences into broader and broader mediums. Eventually, this climb hits a ceiling. It leads to a syntactic medium of perfect generality and homogeneity. It terminates at a universal reflexive syntactic operator, which is just a fancy way of saying this is the ultimate homogeneous set of rules for all of existence. Section 6. A paradox-proof reality. The ultimate tautology. We are hitting the climax of the explainer right here. The author states that Syndiffeonesis is a metalogical tautology amounting to self-resolving paradox. Okay, what does that actually mean in simpler terms? It means the universe is essentially a logical loop that proves itself. The universe is literally built out of the coincidence of sameness and difference. Reality itself is a paradox that inherently, structurally, solves its own contradiction. There's no way around it. It has to be, or it simply couldn't exist. As the author brilliantly highlights here, a theory and/or reality built of self-resolving paradox is immunized to paradox. Think about the sheer elegance of that design for a second. By paradox of forming reality, by building the resolution right into the very foundation of how things differ and relate to each other, the universe makes itself completely immune to logical breakdowns. It is, quite literally, the perfect, indestructible system. Which brings us to our final, rather provocative thought. If reality is a self-contained paradox, a unified medium perfectly expressing differences within itself, well, what does that make you? You are a differentiating expression of that very same unitary medium. I'm going to leave you to ponder your own existence within this self-resolving, unified system. Thanks so much for exploring this with me on today's Explainer, and keep questioning the reality around you.